Good morning, everyone. It's really nice to see this room full of people, stakeholders from all over the Commonwealth. Good morning again. My name is Rafael Alvarez Febo. I'm the Executive Director for the Governor's Commission on LGBTQ Affairs. And we're celebrating the signing of an executive order, a really important one that protects Pennsylvanians, LGBT youth, and makes Pennsylvania a better service provider for its employees and all members of the Commonwealth. Over the last year, we worked tirelessly with many stakeholders, including the Trevor Project. Can we give them a round of applause really quick? Their team has been phenomenal, giving us data, giving us all the information necessary to do an executive order responsibly. That's something that we really took time to get accomplished. We talked to parents, we talked to many stakeholders in order to make this a really good executive order. I'm really proud of it that we worked on it. Make no mistake, the practice of so-called conversion therapy can lead to irreparable damage to an individual's well-being. This is exacerbated if that individual is a child. In a climate where we are polarized, where we are not looking for the well-being of children, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is doing that. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the countless parents who support and affirm their children regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity. These folks, I've been on calls with them, they are superheroes. They are looking for resources, they are frustrated, and they are dealing with a climate that's filled with bigotry and hate. And they're just trying to do what's best for their children by affirming them, by loving them unconditionally. Those I don't want to miss that, right? When we're banning something, we need to look at the people who are doing good things, and those parents are amazing. And then finally, we are making the Commonwealth a more inclusive government by directing agencies to update forms and intake practices to better serve Pennsylvania residents. No one loses when we are inclusive. No one loses. We only become a better Commonwealth for everyone. And I just want to say this really quickly. It actually allows us to love thy neighbor, if we're going to use these kinds of terms, right? It's giving us the grace to accept other people and meet them where they're at. So before I get on a soapbox and continue going, I would like to introduce the 47th governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and a fierce ally for the LGBTQ community, Governor Tom Wolf.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Raphael. That was really nice of you. It's pretty much the way I wrote it. But
on Amtrak with me this morning?
But thank you all for joining us. I want to especially thank, of course, Raphael. You're going to hear from Carla in a minute, members of the commission. But Malcolm Kenyatta, Representative Kenyatta, Representative Benham, and Senator Katie Muth, and Mary Isaacson. I'm sorry, I missed you too. Who've led the effort on legislation trying to protect our kids, and we need to keep doing that. But I really appreciate your leadership on this. I also want to make a call out to the Trevor Project, the staff, for being here. This is again something that's really important, and they are trying to protect our kids. They work tirelessly, all of these folks, every day. To fight for a better world for our LGBTQ community. We're here today because LGBTQ individuals in Pennsylvania, and especially LGBTQ youth, need our help. Over the past several years, right-wing extremists across the nation have used their power to bully LGBTQ youth and introduce legislation that would harm the LGBTQ community. This is despicable, and it's causing immense harm to our communities. The anti-LGBTQ legislation, the phony moral outrage on the part of right-wing politicians, has fed a very real and a very dangerous wave of discrimination and violence against the LGBTQ community. According to the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, the anti-LGBTQ mobilization increased by over 4 times between 2020 and 2021. That's just 1 year. From 2020 to 2021, a 4-time increase. And as of June, our nation has already, as of June by that point, 2 months ago, had already experienced more incidents of political violence against the LGBTQ communities this year than we saw in all of 2021. A survey on LGBTQ youth mental health by the Trevor Project shows that political attacks aimed at transgender and non-binary youth negatively impact their mental well-being. According to that survey, 45% of LGBTQ youth seriously considered attempting suicide in the past year. 73% of LGBTQ youth reported experiencing symptoms of anxiety, and 58% reported symptoms of depression. 36% of LGBTQ youth reported that they have been physically threatened or harmed due to their sexual orientation or gender identity. Folks, we have a crisis here, and it's unacceptable. It is unacceptable for all of us. Political attacks on LGBTQ communities are not happening in a vacuum. They're happening in our towns, and they're happening in our schools, and they're increasing the danger our kids face from bullying and community violence. And they're causing horrific consequences for the mental health and the well-being of a whole generation of young LGBTQ individuals. But there's something that's very simple that we can each do to help. We can stand up, as Raphael said, as parents and friends do. We can stand up and tell LGBTQ youth that we hear them, we accept them exactly as they are. They matter, they belong, and we are going to protect them, and we're going to look out for them. That study from the Trevor Project showed that while overall rates of negative mental health outcomes among LGBTQ youth are high, those rates are much, much lower in communities, schools, and families that are accepting and that are supportive of LGBTQ people. Unfortunately, negative mental health outcomes for LGBTQ youth are often worsened by a so-called treatment that is known as conversion therapy. Conversion therapy is widely rejected by medical and scientific communities because it is a bad and traumatic practice based on junk science that actively harms people, the very people it's supposed to help. Conversion therapy does the opposite of what research has shown helps improve mental health outcomes for LGBTQ youth. Instead of starting from a place of acceptance, conversion therapy tells individuals that they are, in fact, wrong and that they need to be changed. A peer-reviewed study from the Trevor Project showed that LGBTQ youth who underwent conversion therapy were more than twice as likely to report having attempted suicide in the past year. Nationwide, 13% of LGBTQ youth reported that they reported to being subjected to conversion therapy, and 83% were subjected to it when they were under the age of 18. That's why today I am signing an executive order right there to protect Pennsylvanians from conversion therapy, to protect them from the damage it does to our youth and to our communities. This order will do three things. First, it will direct the Commonwealth agencies under my jurisdiction to do everything in their power to discourage conversion therapy in the Commonwealth. Second, it will direct agencies to take steps to actively promote evidence-based medical treatment for LGBTQ communities and individuals that's actually supported by scientific and medical communities. And third, it will direct agencies to make updates to policies and procedures to better support LGBTQ employees and the Pennsylvanians that we serve. There is more that we need to do. To fully ban conversion therapy and the damage it causes, we need the General Assembly to take action, to actually pass the legislation that our friends here have proposed. Bills to do just that have been introduced, and they have stalled. They've been stalled. So I'm calling on the General Assembly to join me in join all of us in taking action to protect Pennsylvanians from conversion therapy, because all of our youth deserve to grow up in a Commonwealth that accepts and respects them. I want LGBTQ youth and individuals all across Pennsylvania to know that I stand with you. I see you, I respect you. I support you. Thank you. And now I'm going to turn this over to Carla Christopher Wilson, who is on the LGBTQ Affairs Commission, but who is also a survivor of conversion therapy. Carla.
Good morning. My name is Carla Christopher Wilson, and I use the pronouns she and her. I am a proud member of the Pennsylvania Commission on LGBTQ Affairs, and I'm also the co-founder of York Equality Fest, which later became the Rainbow Rose Resource Center and York County Pride. I'm also a cultural competency and inclusion consultant, and I've worked with dozens of school districts, colleges, library systems, and nonprofits, wrestling with the challenges of inclusion and diversity. Recognizing the need for healing in our communities, especially with our youth, actually led me to return to seminary, and I am currently an ELCA Lutheran pastor. I currently serve as assistant to the bishop in charge of justice ministries for the Central Pennsylvania region, leading and coordinating efforts in LGBTQ affirmation, as well as battling houselessness, hunger, poverty, and other challenges against equity. I could stand before you today and give voice to the statistics of how many young people not affirmed in their gender or their sexual orientation experience depression, anxiety, and even self-harm or attempt suicide. I could share with you the countless stories of the youth and the adults that I support every week, every month, that are still living with flashbacks and self-hatred, substance abuse, and symptoms of trauma from experiences with conversion therapy that in some of them happened more than 30 years ago and still revisit them at night. For more than a decade, sharing statistics and other people's stories was all I could do, because to tell my own story was so painful, I lacked the strength to do it in a room full of people like this one. I am a survivor of conversion therapy, confessing my teenage crush to a Bible study leader in what I thought was a safe space to ask questions, to receive support. That innocent inquiry resulted in my being sent to a week-long retreat. No cell phone, several states away, alone, with no idea what was coming. I'm still ashamed to admit that it didn't even take the whole week for them to break me. Within 2 days that involved being held in a lightless room the size of a closet, pressed to the floor by more hands than I could count, I begged any human or any God that would listen to save me, even change me, if it would make it stop. But I did survive. And thanks to living in a commonwealth that has gone to great lengths to make healthcare accessible and affordable, I was able to receive the mental health support that I needed. I was able to become a community advocate, partnering with agencies across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, like Pennsylvania Youth Congress, my first partners, to encourage city, township, and borough councils to adopt bans on conversion therapy. Oh, conversion therapy is a slippery beast, though. In my own York County, there's 72 municipalities. That's a lot of city, township, and borough councils to make survivors tell their stories in front of. revisiting that trauma over and over again while also crafting legislation. You can imagine the glacial pace of trying to protect young people like I once was, all the way across Pennsylvania, trying to get to them before they lose so many years of joy and peace and productivity like I did. Those are years that no matter how well I do, I can never get back. Even with same-sex attraction being affirmed as a normal and healthy behavior by the American Psychological Association in 1973, and conversion therapy being specifically declared both ineffective and harmful. Those are quoted words, my friends. Ineffective and harmful in 2009 by their official statement. It's still practiced in the here and now of 2022 Pennsylvania, and it must stop. As a specifically committed, trauma-informed Commonwealth who cares for the health and the well-being of its citizens, we all must labor together and unite in support, especially of our young people. We do not have years and we do not have resources to waste on what can be done today, in a historic here and now that I never thought I would live to see, for the child that I once was, for the adults and the children that I care for today. Thank you, Governor Wolf, and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and the Commission for signing and making possible the signing of this executive order. I'm here today to say that healing is possible. But for many of us, it must begin today. And now, my friends, I turn it back over for the grand event to our governor, Tom Wolf.
Come on, let's come over here and let's get this signed.
Come on back here. Yeah. Ready?
Ready.
Here we are. Okay, let's take some on-topic questions. I'll take the, I'll do a gaggle afterwards, just in case you have off-topic questions. Yeah.
Just on topic, you mentioned the executive order is meant to look over state resource, make sure no state resources is going to conversion therapy. So, like, do you have any sense of what state resources might be getting conversion therapy?
No, I don't think any is, but one of the things that this executive order will allow us to do is learn more about what actually is going on in Pennsylvania.
Will this be done before your administration is over in about 6 months, maybe a little more than that?
Why do you look so happy about that?
But will that be done before then?
I can't say that. Well, we need to start the process, and I'm assuming that this will continue with my successor, but we'll move as fast as we can. Any other questions? Dennis Owens, I see you back there. You got to have a question. Anything else? Yes.
Yes, Governor. The order you just signed will impact people who have professional licenses from the state. Can anything be done to stop or prevent conversion therapy from coming from religious practitioners? In other words, can we stop religious
Yeah.
institutions from committing conversion therapy?
I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not sure exactly what power I have to do that. Yeah. You're going to get a good answer here.
Thank you so much, Governor. My name is Casey Pick. I'm the Senior Fellow for Advocacy and Government Affairs at the Trevor Project. So, with regards to how funds flow to these practitioners, we see it happen sometimes through individuals who are reimbursed through state insurance policies, sometimes organizations that contract with the state to provide social services, such as drug rehabilitation centers, things like that. And unfortunately, we know stories of sometimes those programs or those individuals who are reimbursed by state funding engaging in sexual orientation and gender identity change efforts or conversion therapy. So part of what this does is to inform all of those individuals who are receiving state funds in that way that that is inappropriate to use these funds, to take action to prevent that. And so that may, in some occasions, include religious practitioners of conversion therapy who are receiving funding through state programs or partnerships. So that would be one way that we can send a clear message and have a direct impact.
This really affects everybody.
This really does affect everybody that way. And also worth knowing is the value of sending a clear message and the relationships between licensed professionals who continue to engage in this pseudoscience and some of these religious ministries that are engaging in it. They often cross-refer, they often talk to each other and connect via word of mouth. So we see it every time where we in any way prohibit the activities of conversion therapy for licensed professionals. Often the unlicensed religious practitioners come forward as well to complain that we are making their lives more difficult. And that is precisely the point. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Governor,
Yes.
to that point that was just raised, you do have this, I guess, somebody could say to a religious practitioner or perhaps somebody who is just doing this under the books. I mean, my question is, what legislative options are you hoping to see? I mean, is there something that can be done on the legislative side to bar this from happening beyond just this executive order?
Yeah, I think it would be, again, legislation that broadly would say we are not going to allow conversion therapy to take place under any circumstances in Pennsylvania. So I think that is why legislation is necessary. This executive order is the best I can do absent that legislation. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. Let's get some photographs.